Hello everybody and thanks for tuning in. Inside this box is the LT105. I don't normally do unboxings, but I wanted to show you that when you get this from GearBest, it comes pretty much assembled. I read oftentimes about these little kits like the QX80 being a kit, and in the last video I did not show that one coming out of the box, so I thought I would do an unboxing, I guess, so to speak. So we have our main vehicle. We've got two 600 milliwatt batteries, identical to the QX80. Inside the bag that the batteries were in is some foam tape. And we have two sets of, or one set actually. The QX80 came with two sets. This set, it comes with one set of props from Lantian, and then we have a charging cable with a prop remover right in here, just like with the QX80, and a rubber band for this, and probably to go around to secure the battery. But as you see here, I've already got my slim profile Duralock on the batteries. And they come with a nice set of instructions. If you haven't seen my QX80 build, which is on the picture here, I'll put a link to that right up here in the corner. But this gives you all the setup information, because this does not come with your own receiver. You have to provide your own receiver, which is a good thing. Oftentimes these have been coming out with DSM or Spectrum protocols, and that leaves some people out in the dark. In this case, you can add it to your receiver. I would encourage you to use the smallest, lightest receiver you can get, because with micros, weight means a lot. We only have so much thrust that we can get, and if we put a big heavy receiver on here, even like a light one like an X4R, that's too big. Need to go smaller if we can. On the back side of the instructions, we've got our dip switches for our frequencies, and those dip switches are really hard to see, but you can see the little white bits right there. You just take a pencil or something, a tool, a little screwdriver that you might have, and flip those up or down. So nice instructions, come color. We've got a nice bit of kit here with two batteries, is always nice. I do wish we'd had two sets of props. I'm a little disappointed only one. So if you get this, you'll probably want to order more props right away, because if you break one, you're down, unless you have extra props on hand. A couple things to draw our attention to here before we do a direct comparison to the QX80. Similar styles, but this one has a very thin frame here. I'll get the calipers and measure it. I think that's probably 1.5 mil. Calipers at the ready. 1 mil. So very thin. Now that doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means light too. Carbon fiber is very strong, so we shouldn't have to worry about that too much, but I'm sure to crash this a number of times, so I'll give it a good test for you. Another thing, if you look at the camera, it's kind of slanted down this way. Looks like the foam tape has just been kind of squished, so I'll probably have to get that other foam tape out to get this camera back up to flat. That might not bother you too much when you're in the goggles. Something else I noticed straight away is you can see this blob of solder that's on here, and that's, I believe, the ground. That's got to be the ground, because the antenna pokes right through there, if you can see that. It concerns me a bit, because carbon fiber does conduct. We are insulated because of the nylon standoffs here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of electrical tape right underneath there, because I don't want to run that risk. It's just not worth it. You can also see that this cutout that they have might be made for a different camera. Let me get another camera out and we'll see if that's any smaller. So this is the FX798T. Is it printed here on the box somewhere we can read it? There, FX798T. And the reason why I like this camera is that once you take the case off, you've got about 4 grams. And after you cut this lead nice and short. So if you're to install it here, that's about all you would need. You might want a little bit of play in there, but not too much. You know, we don't want to add weight to these things. But I believe these cameras are the same size. Yeah, to my eye that looks like these cameras are the same size. So why this frame has a cutout up here, either they're developing their own camera and they're just a little bit of foresight, or it's just for weight reduction possibly. So I'm going to get this flight ready, and then we'll come back and we'll do a direct comparison with the QX80. Alright, I've got the LT105 flight ready. You can see that my receiver is right down here on a little bit of foam tape, and that is a satellite DSM-2. It's actually, I was going to use the lemon, but I've had this Redcon one around for a while and I wanted to give it a try, and it works just fine as far as I can tell. I haven't flown it yet, so we'll see if it falls out of the sky on me or not. And you're probably noticing this on top. That is what I use to protect the lobes from the antenna from taking a direct impact. So if you land upside down, crash upside down, your antenna won't get a direct impact. This is an 8-inch. Well, it's not actually an 8-inch. What size is it? Let me get the box. These are the zip ties. I got these from Harbor Freight. I couldn't tell you what I paid for the whole box, but I am using the 8-inch. I wasn't sure because they're actually well longer than 8-inch. For whatever reason, they call them 8-inch. And they come in a lot of different colors. And they also have little ones. But I just use one on this, and I always orientate it this way. That way I get less wind resistance. You know, we might yaw left or right, but most of the wind is going to be coming this way at the quad. And like I was saying, when it comes to landing upside down, it's actually kind of rigid, but it gives a little bit, and it also helps us keep from taking a direct impact on our motor stems. Because if we come down hard on one of those and we pop off this end cap, that motor's dead or done, or even just dislodge it a little bit. And I've never personally had that happen, but I've seen a lot of people who have, so that can really shorten the lifespan of a brushed motor, because there's essentially no repairing that. I added some vibration dampening. I don't know what this stuff actually is called. It's some sort of vibration dampening, and it's sticky on both sides, and I just cut it down real small. Still see my camera's a little bit wonky. You kind of have to adjust these rubber bands in order to make the camera straight, and I moved it out towards the end here so I could get a little bit of up tilt, if you can see that. Probably, yeah, right there we can see a little bit of up tilt. That's so we have a really wide field of view, but when we get the nose down and we start flying forward, we might want a little bit more. And that's one of the downsides of this frame, is that with this top plate you only have so much up tilt you can get. And I've got my battery mounted here on the bottom. I use Duralock between there, and then the rubber band that was included. There's a couple little nubs sticking out here, just wrapped them around there. Oh, and the electrical tape. I put some electrical tape around this to help protect it from any possibility that we might get a short from touching this carbon fiber. It shouldn't be an issue because we've got these nylon standoffs kind of isolating everything, but I just wanted to be sure, and better safe than sorry. And its counterpart, which is the QX80, I've used two of those, and you can see that the frame design is quite a bit different. And that's one of the reasons why I really like the QX80, was I like trying things that are different, and the way they've milled out this frame to make it lighter and less resistant to wind, I wanted to give that a try. I'm not going to say it's better, but I do think with the motors being in this cage, that is a benefit from the direct impacts on your motor stems. It should help to hold those end caps in. I'm using a lemon satellite there as well, and then I routed one of these zip ties up through, and I use, you can see a little bit of that glue, it's percolating up. That is actually this glue right here. I used it on both of them, and it works really well. It's the Gorilla Glue Super Glue Gel, and I've had this around for quite a while. You see it's, well, you can't really see it, but it's fairly empty. I'm gonna have to get another one someday. Doesn't take very much. You don't want to use very much if you happen to use that, because it does foam up a bit and it gets hard, and then you either have to cut that out or take it off and cut it all off and try again. So just a little dab will do. Here's a little front view of what these two quads look like. And then we've got profile here. Very, very similar profiles. If I put this one down where the battery is going to be, and that's an additional benefit of the 80, is that you don't actually land on the battery. You land on the motor cages. But this one might have its benefits from having the motors out further away. We could see it could turn or yaw tighter, but we'll have to take it outside and give it a go. And that's what we're going to do next.
I've got it set to horizon mode right now. Let's get down here and just do a quick hard hit on the throttle. Give you some idea. One, two, three. Don't have air mode on. I cut the throttle too much. Let's do it again here. One, two, three. See, its motor's got sounding a little bit of a whine. That's Olive over there. She's a friend's dog. She's nice. Okay, here we go. Again, one, two, three. Whoa, and a bounce. Alright, that's good enough, right? Let's take it outside and do what she's meant to do. FPV.
there you have it. Full review. You've seen it all. Line of sight. Or for punch tests, the FPV footage. You see I've got a little bit of a bent prop here. I just kind of bent it back into shape, and it still flies fine. I hope you notice in the beginning of that flight footage that you can see the trees, and it was pretty dang windy that day, especially when you got very far off the ground. I tend to fly low just because that's the style I like. But when you get high, you could definitely see that there was a little bit of a wobble in the video, and that's because of the wind. Because when the wind would die down, I could feel it on my face. It would fly nice and smooth. I'll post the CLI dump, so if you change yours and if you change the PID settings or some setting on yours and you can't seem to get it back right, you can always reference the video and you can get that CLI dump down in the links below. Click the show more button to find those links. I'll link the product description in there as well. And as far as the PID setting goes, I was really surprised to find the P settings for roll, pitch, and yaw. It has a yaw P setting of 185. And that seemed extraordinarily high, especially with the D setting of 0. But it works, so I can't really complain. I'm just letting you know that if you find that, that's how this one was as well. The roll and pitch settings were both set at 80, and I'll post this PID screenshot that I have down in the description below as well, so you can reference that at a later time. You don't have to necessarily look at the text file, the CLI dump. If you have an affection to get into FPV, and maybe if you're coming from something that was non-FPV, I think all these kits are great starters. They're good for you to get started without a huge expense. They're also pretty safe because they are small. You're not going to cause much damage to people or property. And that's one of the big reasons why I fly a lot of micros, is that I don't want to hurt anybody. You'll notice in the flight video that I kept a pretty good distance away from the person riding a bike through the neighborhood. While it's pretty cool and it adds a little something to the video, I sure didn't want to come close or have an accident there. And that's one of the big reasons why I fly micros. This is something you can fly in the house. You can set it to horizon or angle mode, and depending upon where you're at with your flying skills, you can set the horizon strength and angle strength, that's the self-leveling strength, to something that suits your needs for indoor flight. So if you live in an area where you get a lot of weather and you can't go outside, you can still fly something like this if you have some space inside. Or you can just practice in a bedroom or something like that. Now, I've already brought the QX80 into the equation here, and the next thing that people are going to ask is, which one should I get? I think they're both good flyers, and I think they fly very similarly. Myself, behind the sticks, I didn't notice a difference between the two. If I have to pick, I still pick the QX80 because I think the frame is going to hold up a little better. I think the motors won't need to be adjusted. You can see on these style grommets, if you have a wreck, the motor will get off, and you'll need to adjust that in flight to get it back up straight, or it might fly a little wonky. That just won't happen with these motor cages. It's going to hold the motors upright, and even after a crash, it should stay that way. It might bend the motor stem, but I have yet to have it happen, and in my review of this, you'll see I have several flights where I include the crash footage as well. I think they're both good. If you've got one, you're looking for another, get another one. Buy whatever you like. I do like the fact that these F3 flight controllers that they have in here, they really deliver a smooth flight, and I think they're a lot easier to tune myself. In this case, I really don't know that they need much tuning. Just adjust your rates to what you feels right to you on the sticks. You can, of course, flash these. You can put Beta Flight 3 on these that's out now, and you might even make it might even feel better to you with Beta Flight 3. You know, it's a lot of what we're using nowadays is Beta Flight. Clean Flight has some catching up to do, but even on stock settings, stock firmware, these fly really well, and you'll have a lot of good times. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the section down below, and thanks for watching.